Acreage lots just minutes from I-25 in Parker? Stay tuned as we do part 4 of our in-depth series on Parker. Hey everyone, it's Alyson Wahl with Live South Denver, your real estate strategist and realtor for the South Denver area. If you are just joining us for the first time ever, or if you're just jumping into our series on Parker, this is part 4 of 4, and you can go back right here and catch all of those and some more videos on Parker in this playlist. But you are kind of catching us at the end. We have gone round the horn and started up in the northwest corner, and we're finishing up right here. So you don't want to miss it. Go back and hit those. Those 2 quadrants on the bottom, there's some pretty hefty videos. We hit a lot down there. This week, it's gonna be much lighter. Let's jump right in. In case it is your first time, I don't want to skip over some basics. This is the town of Parker, this red outline. Parker has a lot more to it. As you can see from this big red circle I drew on the map, this pretty much covers the unincorporated parts of Parker. This crisscross I drew in the middle is how we broke down our 4 quadrants. And today we're hitting on this northeast quadrant, definitely a smaller section of the map, most certainly. Let's zoom into this northeast section and you can see this little orange section here. That's part of what we talked about last week. I don't want those to blend together or get confusing. You can see a little bit of that cult following neighborhood, Rowley Downs, bumping right up to this northeast section too. As we move into talking about our neighborhoods, they're all gonna fit on one screen today because there are really so few residential areas over in this northeast section. So our first neighborhood right here is Parker Vista. It is actually just north of Rowley Downs, which we talked about last week. The homes run about 2,600 to 4,400 square feet and were built in a pretty tight time frame, 1995 to 2000, so they're running well over 20 years old right now. Given that most of these homes are clearly going to need updating unless someone has taken that project under their wings already, the home prices currently are running somewhere in the $600,000 to $700,000 range. I did find one home that sold at $900,000. After looking at, I could say hands down, I would say that that seller certainly overpaid even in this market. They definitely loved the home for the views that it had, but even for that, they definitely overpaid. So I'm gonna guess that buyer had been outbid and outbid and outbid and just felt tired and said, here's my best offer. I've made it 6-7 times, take it and give me this house. There's nothing in this neighborhood that has sold close to 900 at any point yet. It will get there soon, given the market we're in though. There is a little pocket park in the middle of this neighborhood, and one of the great things about this little area is there is a lot of like green space, open space along the edges. Now it does front to Main Street that leaves downtown Parker, so you always, as we've talked about in every one of the videos, have to listen for road noise. I'm never a fan of buying a home on a main road. It's hard for resale, as is buying near power lines. So I always bring that up, but you gotta get into the neighborhood somehow, right? But much of this neighborhood fronts large acreage, so it gives a feel of being on open space. And any time that you can have your house back to something that's wide open, green, no neighbor right behind you, that is always a premium. If you can add a view onto it, you're definitely making money. Now, our next neighborhood right here is Willow Ridge. Now, look at the little gap between Parker Vista and Willow Ridge. That is some open land that has been purchased by Century Holdings, AKA Century Homes, which means there's gonna be some new construction in there at some point. I haven't heard anything about what's going in there when the purchase actually took place just last year, so it could be a while before they churn that over into some new construction. Willow Ridge was built back starting in the 90s, built all the way up to 2000, so it has a pretty big construction range, 10 years. The home sizes range from the very modest 1,600 square feet to very good size, 4,500 square feet. I've toured numerous homes in this community. The larger homes have really good footprints, very large bedrooms, which is fantastic. Some of the layouts are really great. If you get a good size yard, I'll say this neighborhood has some really wonderful desirability to it, especially once you get a little bit deeper in. And while this home is wider rather than deeper, meaning a lot more of the homes front to the main road, There are a lot of opportunities in here to back up to these larger acreage lots on the backside, which mean peace and quiet. So I actually really enjoy this neighborhood when homes come up in here, particularly the larger ones. Right next door is the estates at Quail Creek. That means bigger homes. Once we hear the word estates, we are jumping the price point and jumping the square footage. This is a smaller neighborhood, and that's generally true when we're getting into estate size lots and estate size homes. This neighborhood was built in the mid-90s into the mid-2000s, so slightly newer. Footprint size, 3,000 square feet to over 5,000 square feet. So certainly a bigger home for maybe a bigger family, if that's what you're looking for. All three of the neighborhoods that run along Main Street have nice curvy roads on the interior, which is great for potential privacy because those curvy roads give you some pie-shaped lots. Now, if you're on the wrong side of the street, you sometimes get a smaller lot, but it does offer opportunities for added privacy. These are mature neighborhoods, so certainly mature trees. That's always an added bonus when we're looking for privacy, because as we head to new construction, which is so popular, it is a barren landscape for such a long time. Also, all three of these neighborhoods have interior pocket parks. They are of varying sizes, but there is a place to go and walk the dogs, maybe meet up with neighbors, have a party with friends if your yard isn't big enough or you have a lot of people coming. So there are certainly perks in here. None of them have amenities like a pool, a clubhouse, things of that sort. So you can always go to the Park or Rec Center, but you've got nothing on site for yourself. So there was a lot of mention of these homes backing up to larger acreage lots and residential space behind them that was wide open. Well, that is the next section we're talking about, and we are lumping in a handful of neighborhoods into what I'm just gonna call acreage lots number 1. There are a bunch of acreage communities in this northeast corner of Parker, and it really is the highlight of this area of Parker. In this section right here that we're talking about, we've got neighborhoods like Homestead Hills, Forest Park, Pine Valley, Pinedale, and the two most prolific neighborhoods that deliver homes on the larger scale and more of the luxury end are Centennial Ranch and Bellcross Ranch. When we move north into acreage lots 2, we've got Ponderosa Summit, Ponderosa Hills, Inspiration Hills, Peak. As you can see, these two sections make up a large portion of this northeast Parker area we're talking about. Most of the lots in here are between 3 and 5 acres, but there is a wide range. Let me tell you, there's a lot in here that is over 90 acres large, and there are certainly lots that are under 2 acres in size. The home styles range from the very modest, when we're talking 1,000 square feet, 1960 builds, they would need a full remodel, very humble homes at modest price points. And then we have the extremely grand 20,000 square feet, full custom homes, jaw-dropping, should be on television. It runs the gamut. Between these 2 acreage lot areas in the last year, fewer than 50 homes have sold. So there's not a lot of turnover. In fact, I would say that with COVID, as people have looked for more room and a place to stay, the ones who live here are probably feeling pretty lucky and like they already had their sweet spot. Very happy to have already had it, particularly with home prices the way they're growing. The home prices in the last year have ranged from around $700,000 to over $4 million. So again, a wide range. There really is something for everyone. This blue section we are calling Acreage Lots 3. It includes Travois and Sierra Vista. Travois is a little bit interesting because it actually does cross out of the Douglas County line, but that neighborhood is still Travois. When you cross over into Arapahoe County, you do see a little bit of differential in your taxes. Sierra Vista is a lovely neighborhood, and they have seen a lot of growth on their western edge as the Costco has come in there, Trader Joe's is coming in there, the Boondocks, the big play area for family and kids, arcade, go-karts, that kind of thing. Loads of restaurants. All of that was not there when these folks were building their semi-custom and custom homes on their acreage. Much like the other sections, most of these lots run 3 to 5 acres in size. These homes tend to be more on the modest end. It doesn't mean they aren't custom, it's just they were more modest in their builds. In the last year, only a handful of homes have sold in this section. They're running all across the $1 million price point. Before we move on, since we're talking so much about about acreage and land in this part of Parker, let's talk water. Many of these properties are going to be on a well. It could be a community well. Most likely it's going to be a personal well on the land. But there are a few places where you will have public water. It sometimes is nice to not have to worry about your well, if it's in good shape, if it's running dry, if your well pump is breaking, if your well pump needs some maintenance, all of those things. Some people love being off the grid and absolutely prefer to have a well. Bellcross Ranch, one of the communities I mentioned in Acreage Section 1, they are consistently noted as having public water, but they are on a septic tank, as is nearly every other acreage home that we've talked about. All right, this last section of Northeast Parker is a juxtaposition of the very old construction and some newer construction. These homes in Parker Heights were built starting in the 1960s, going into the 1970s. And there are some homes as small as around 1,000 square feet up to a still modest 2,800 square feet. This location would probably be ideal for someone who has a loved one who wants to walk to work in Parker, wants some sort of walkability to areas within Parker. It is not a quiet location. It is right on a main intersection off Parker Road, so quiet is not how I would describe this spot, but convenient, yes. Fewer than a handful of homes have sold in this area in the last year. The price points have run in the 500s or below. Right over here is Lincoln Creek Village. This is all the new construction this way. Most of these homes have been built since 2013. Some of them are just a couple of years old. This is certainly a quieter spot. I just toured one of these the other day and I was sitting out on the front porch overlooking the green lawn. I didn't really hear much noise at all. It was actually very cute and quaint. The downside to this area, at least from my point of view, is that there's a lot of alley parking. So as I was circling around to find where I was going to park, as I was waiting for my clients, the alley parking side of these has a little bit of the doldrums. It's a lot more bland. The builder didn't put much of their style and oomph into the alley parking side of these homes. But then when you get around to the front, these are low, no maintenance style properties. So there's not really a yard that you're keeping up. So people are usually parking on the front and walking up to your front door to come in. So when you walk up to the front, so much style, so much pizzazz. They're adorable, great paint, lots of brick or stone facade. I mean, absolutely adorable. But when you go around back, think of a movie where every single house is the same. Kind of looks like that. So that part loses its appeal for me. Size-wise, they run the gamut from 1,500 square feet to 3,800 square feet, so really good, lots of options. And price-wise, they're pushing around the $600,000 range. We pop down to Parker North. This is a pretty big neighborhood. These were built throughout the 80s into the early 90s. Parker North's name makes sense back when this area and Parker Heights were the only things generally north of downtown Parker area. The homes in here range again from a modest 1,000 square feet up to 4,000 square feet. So there's certainly a wide range of options. This was definitely a go-to neighborhood back in the 80s. There's a large pocket park in the middle, very convenient, set back a little bit off of Parker Road, so definitely peace and quiet. This is a pretty big neighborhood. So given its size, there have been a lot more homes that have sold over the last year, where we've had very few in some of these other spots. Home prices have run anywhere from the low 400s up into the 700s over this last year. This whole northeast section of Parker has it made when it comes to retail access. The north end is right next to the hospital, the Costco, the restaurants, the Trader Joe's that's coming in, all sorts of new chain restaurants that make it easy to grab a meal. If you don't want chain and you want local, the south end is right next to downtown, and it's a hop, skip, jump for anyone in and around these areas to get to either side. So the retail shopping dining piece is easy for everyone. On the commute side of things, I would say it's pretty great up here on this side as well. Certainly better than being on the southwest side of town, where you're trying to get out of the Pinery or something way far in the southwest corner. To get over to C470 and the toll road is probably 10 minutes max, and that's with traffic in the mornings. And then to get from Parker Road up the toll road over to I-25 is at best a 5-minute drive. If you're speedy, like most Coloradans, you're probably at 4 minutes, maybe better. As you can tell, there is not a lot of residential in this northeast section of Parker, and what is here Acreage lots are the creme de la creme. The great news, if you're looking for privacy, you're looking for land, you're looking for a place to spread your wings, get away from it all, but not have to be that far from town, maybe grab some mountain views, this is the place to look. There are trees, there are definitely some spots with pine forest, there are a few spots with some elevation and some great mountain views. And you've got a shot at all of this for potentially less than $1 million, and if you want some luxury, you can certainly have that in the $2-3+ million range. And getting into town, if you work in the tech center, work downtown, you semi-commute and you're in a hybrid situation, you can do all of that in an uber convenient fashion as well. So this is a really sweet little spot in Parker if this is what you're looking for. Thank you so much for taking this in-depth tour of Parker with me. It's been a really great way to tackle our really wet and windy winter and spring. It's been hard to get out and do those on-site tours that we love to do so much, but they're coming back. I can't wait to be out with you soon. If you've got questions about any of the great areas of Denver, you know I would love to connect, and I will see y'all next week.